Hey yo, what's poppin', my second letter of the alphabet?
Wait, what'd you just say?
What are you doing?
Wondering why someone hasn't gotten rid of that pumpkin yet?
Yeah, it's reeking up this place quite a bit.
I was more or less implying you should be the one to clean it up since you were the one who threw it.
Oh well, why don't we get Table to clean it up since he's here now?
How's he gonna do that? He doesn't have any arms.
Hey Table, how about you show this schmuck your amazing triceps?
Clean it up.
Okay, fine. Anyways, we wouldn't be here right now if you weren't going to talk about something.
I was planning on talking about something.
What is this something, if I may ask?
A movie?
Ooh, I was expecting another video game thing. So, what's the movie?
A really bad movie.
Specifically,
Cats.
versus dogs? Oh no.
Before the film started, I did two things. Firstly, I wrote down the number of people in the theater, which ended up being 24, more than what I was expecting, which was 0. Also, the majority of those seats were either filled with families with very young children or very old people. The second thing I did was write down every ad that played. Some noteworthy ones consisted of this unfunny She Shed joke from State Farm, a Pokemon Go ad about this kid and a Squirtle, a Geico sequel commercial contest thing, there was one about the Muppets using an iPad, a trailer for In the Heights, a musical featuring that guy behind the music behind Hamilton, a Doolittle sequel, and other ads that were mostly wholesome and family oriented because I watched this film around Christmas. The reason why I wrote all that down was because I thought the ads and trailers that played before the actual film would be more interesting, memorable, and coherent than the entirety of the Cats movie. I've never seen the Cats musical myself, but I feel as if I could watch a rendition of the play done by a bunch of third graders with little to no practice, and it would be more entertaining than this movie. I'm not going to go in hard about the visuals because everyone at this point knows the film looks like a crusty genital interlope. I will say it's worse than what the advertisements for this film showed, which, by the way, I would give an award to the team that edited the trailers because finding about 2.5 minutes of decent footage must have been painful. With that being said, the editing in this film is dog shit. Scenes will go from one location to another without any understanding as to where we are. At one point, all of the characters were in a theater, and when I looked back after taking some quick notes, they were all on a railway and then inside a train with no smooth transition. The music, especially in the beginning, will suddenly stop but then cut back in out of nowhere once the shot changes. Despite most of the movie taking place in an alleyway, I have no idea where any of these sets are located from one another. This film feels like a fever dream a kid with ADHD would have while high on acid. The characters in this film were either forgettable or boring. The main character could have been completely absent from the film and everything would still make sense because she does absolutely nothing in this film. Characters show up, sing a song, and they get Thanos snapped out of existence that are pretty much useless for the rest of the film. We're given a 5-minute song about how this cat, who is a theater cat, was a theater cat. We're introduced to a railway cat who was my favorite character just because he tap dances and that's pretty much his only gimmick and is completely useless in the entire film. Taylor Swift cat was pretty good for the 5 minutes she was given. James Corden is the worst character just because he's James Corden. Actually, that sums up the characters in this film pretty well. They're either boring or James Cameron. I'm guessing we all knew this movie was going to look like a shit-stained cumsock. However, I would have been fine with that if the movie had a decent soundtrack, but the music ranges from decent to just awful. The Railway Cat and Taylor Swift songs were decent if not a little dry. There were some jazzy bits here and there that would have been better if they weren't composed for this movie. Apart from that, most of the music sounded cheaply done, like they only had the pre-installed tones in a $30 music making program. The singing ranged from bearable to "Please stop singing, you've been going on for 5 minutes" to James Corden. The lyrics are incomprehensible half the time, but when I could understand what they were saying, it mostly consisted of, "Do you want to see me make a Jellicoe choice?" and "I'm remarkably fat." so I don't think I missed out on any deep and thought-provoking wordplay. Combine that with the previously stated jarring visuals and editing, and what you have is a schizophrenic's nightmare. But even when the characters weren't singing the Minecraft enchantment table, the actual dialogue was just as bad. Go on Google and search cat puns, pick out the worst one you can find, and I guarantee that joke was said in the film. The humor is either cat-related puns or slapstick. Remember in the trailer when Jim's Corden cat was launched into the air on that seesaw? When he falls back down, he lands on the lip of a drum directly on his crotch. Then he falls over and other cats come over and start pouring wine into his mouth while he's still singing. I felt like I was gonna pop a blood vessel. The only genuine laugh came from something that this film didn't intend at all. Towards the end of Taylor Swift's song, there was this lit up stairwell they performed on, and even though it looks nothing like it, it reminded me of the Family Guy intro. Despite the horrible humor, so much is given to us about these characters, but nothing is explained or elaborated on. At the end, I still had questions such as, what is a Jericho cat? Why do they let one cat suicide every year? Where are we going? What's going on? In my notes, I wrote down what is happening 8 times in total. After watching the film, I was asked what this movie was about, and I honestly couldn't tell you. The film is nothing but scene after scene of things happening that's lazily glued together into a movie. And now that I think about it, the stairs reminding me of Family Guy wasn't that far off from what this film is. Nothing but a bunch of cutaway gags that aren't funny or entertaining. Cats is the musical version of Seth MacFarlane's cavalcade of cartoon comedy, except instead of being terribly drawn, it's whatever the fuck this abomination is. If there's anything I could muster up to say that's good about this film, it would be the little time the Railway Cat and Taylor were given. Also, the end of the Magical Cat song looked like an interesting idea with playing cards flying everywhere and instruments playing in the air. I mean, it looked like complete dog shit, but it's the idea that counts. Throughout the entire film, I had to remind myself that this film cost $95 million to produce, and at the time of writing this script, the film has only made $15 million in the first week. Whoever thought this was a good idea needs to rethink what a good idea is. I've seen concept art made by Steven Spielberg back in the 90s when he wanted to make a Cats film, and it looked amazing. I would love another 2D film in the age where everything is 3D, but even so, I would have been fine with literally anything other than what we got. Cats has apparently gotten a bug fix while still in cinemas, but honestly, this film is beyond salvaging. The best course of action that Universal can take at this point is to scrub their hands of this mess entirely, release the whole thing to the public, and hope the YouTube poop community and Civigunner make some decent rips and edits from this atrocity of a flick. Cats is an incoherent mess of a film full of jarring editing, music that has no heart put into it, a forgettable cast of unfunny characters, as well as the visuals which I still don't need to talk about. Cats is a film that I wouldn't even recommend to a furry, yet needs to be seen to understand how bad it truly is.
Jesus man, you must really hate this film.
Should have been expected at this point.
Okay, well anyways, just so you know, this is your first video of this decade.
What do you mean?
This is the first video you've posted in 2020.
What are you talking about?
Oh, never mind. Hey, do you remember anything from like a month ago?
No, why do you ask?
No reason, do your outro.
What do you mean by do your outro?
End the video!
Thank you for watching.
If you touch me, you'll understand.
It's 10 out of 10.